The deal of the day has got to be Microsoft, don't you think? Microsoft buying voice recognition, artificial intelligence provider Nuance, $20 billion deal, $56 a share. So that's a 23% premium to Nuance's closing price on Friday. But we're showing you Microsoft because it just recently hit that record high, just a little bit. You know, we were up, I think, at the peaks by, what, 0.5% or so in that session. Still, that's good enough, right? Still Nuance. But I like the fact that you are so into voice recognition and transcription because, look, it helps a lot of people, right? Maybe people that don't like to type or, you know, they have to squint when they look at their phones or their devices. But this opens up a new era and I think a new computing for a lot of demographics out there.
Look, this is very important, especially for older people who don't get computers and how to manipulate them. Yeah. I did say it, and it's true. Older people have a problem with computers.
My mother agrees with you because when I showed her how to use that transcription button on the iPhone, it's been a game changer. Now I get 10 texts from her every day. Thanks a lot, Stu.
Lucky you. All right, shall we move on to Bitcoin? We've been talking about this all morning. There's a surge by it hit 62,000 over the weekend. What do you think's behind the surge?
Well, it broke through 61,000, so very close to those record highs. Once again, we were a few $100s off, but the first time we crossed through 61,000, the first time in more than a month, and that's going back to early March. And the reason is that huge direct listing on Wednesday. Everyone's anticipating it. Coinbase, world's largest crypto exchange, and really it'll be the first listing of its kind. So it's a good test, especially at a valuation of $100 billion, which would make it the most valuable listing since Facebook almost 9 years ago. So the thinking goes, if there's that much investor interest to buy into Coinbase, there's a lot of money and a lot more interest to invest into Bitcoin. And we have a long list of companies like the Teslas, the Square, PayPals, and the MicroStrategies of the world. Also want to show you some of the movers today on the back of this spike in Bitcoin prices. And we're talking about the Riot blockchains this morning. MicroStrategy just said that they will pay some of their executives in Bitcoin if they choose. And of course, a Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, we're up because usually it trades on how Bitcoin prices do. But, you know, we do have a lot of bullish calls out there, Stu, in terms of where Bitcoin prices go. This morning, I saw 400,000 per coin in the next few years, especially if we have these halvening events when you slice the supply of Bitcoin every 2 to 3 years, and that's how they control inflation. So supply goes down, prices usually go up.
To me.
And the pimento sandwiches are back as well. Probably the best deal, they say, on the greens in Augusta. So yes, we have Hideki Matsuyama, first Asian-born man and first Japanese male player to win the green jacket.
Right down to the wire. Who predicted that by one?
Matsuyama is Japan's first Masters champion.
Shooting a final round 73 to finish the tournament at 10 under. He had some hiccups on 16 when he bogeyed the hole, but he managed to finally close it at least. So Matsuyama, 29 years old, really opens up a new era, Stu, when it comes to Japanese golf, and he might like the Tokyo Olympics flame and cauldron. However, I would say that there are a lot of contenders to do that. For instance, Naomi Osaka, first Japanese female to win a tennis Grand Slam. I mean, there are so many names, but this is such a great moment for Asian golf.
Yeah, I can see it. It was a great moment right there. Put that jacket on, young man.
I also like the simulcast when they were showing the Japanese telecasts of the final round of the Masters and how things are done very differently. But you can see that, you know, he is a new icon, a new hero in that country.
It was fascinating, but I do like those crowds back to normal. I love that weekend box office. Is there any sign that the industry is getting back to normal?
Yes. Well, look, if you look at what happened with Godzilla versus King Kong, $70 million now in total, and that overtook Tenet as the highest grossing COVID-era film. Now, it's actually even more impressive when you factor in the fact that Godzilla versus Kong has been simultaneously streaming on HBO Max. So people are still willing to go back into the theaters, and it's only being shown in half of North American theaters as well. So that $70 million is really looking pretty good and doing even better than the Wonder Woman sequel in its second weekend and beyond. So moviegoers are slowly coming back, but still you had Paramount delaying its Top Gun 2 sequel, Maverick and Tom Cruise. That will be shift from July to November, and hopefully with more time to reopen more theaters and seating. And, you know, you've waited 35 years for the sequel anyways. What's another few months? Now, I'm going to test you, Stu. Can you name one character from Top Gun? One character, besides Maverick.
One character? No, I can't. No.
Goose.
Can you answer this question?
Iceman.
Okay. I bet you can't answer this one. Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah.
Who won?
I think King Kong won. You have to side with King Kong, right? He's the king of the jungle.
No, you have to go and see the movie so you can answer the question, Susan.
I'm
And
pretty
you did
sure
not
King
go to
Kong.
see the movie.
I'm guessing. Yes, I'm guessing. So that's my guess. What it means is that the U.S. is on the cusp of the fastest growth in 30 years plus.
It seems like you're not expecting a recovery, you're expecting a boom.
Well, I would say that this growth that we're expecting in the second half of this year is going to be very strong.
So 6 to 7% in GDP growth this year. So that's something that we haven't seen going back to the early 1980s. Now, Powell also says that it's highly unlikely that they'll be raising interest rates this year. And one part of the interview actually reminded me of you when I was watching it was when they were talking about inflation at 20% back in the late 70s, early 80s. And Stu, they were saying that there's a whole generation out there of the young millennials and the Gen Z who have never seen inflation past 3 to 4%, which is true. So, if we're talking about higher yields based on an expectation of rising prices with all that stimulus flowing through the economy, that's something that I would say millions, hundreds of millions have not seen ever. But you've obviously paid those 20% mortgage rates back during that time 30, 40 years ago. But and one more point just on the interview. But I thought it was concerning also when Jay Powell says that he was surprised and he was confused by that $20 billion Archegos hedge fund blow up. I mean, shouldn't they be on top of this type of information as a central bank and the Federal Reserve, who are there? Part of the mandate is to calm stock markets.
Yeah, I agree with you.